The Boston Red Sox and Kike Hernandez have agreed to a 1-year contract extension worth $10 million. It is a 1-year deal, 10 million straight up, no options, no incentives, no nothing, just a 1-year deal, 10 million. And that's the deal. It'll allow Kike to be a free agent after the 2023 season, where he will be looking probably to restock his value a little bit after having a little bit of a rough year this year. That also included his hip injury. So we're going to get into what this extension means for both sides, the Red Sox and Kike. Plus, really what to expect from Kike and what he's going to want to do heading into free agency again. So let's get straight into it. My name is Derek. You're watching Bleacher Brawls, and let's get straight into it. Obviously, I think bringing back Kike's a big deal for the Red Sox because it gets them a guarantee at least somewhere positionally, whether that's center field, shortstop, second. There's a guarantee that you're going to have a guy who can play at least one of those spots every day if you need. And if not, he's a super utility guy. So you kind of get that locked in, loaded. You don't have to worry about that. Best case, he's a super utility guy. Worst case, he's just going to play center field every day, and there's nothing wrong with that. And Kike, since coming to the Red Sox, when he came over to Boston, it was a 2-year deal worth $14 million. And in those 2 years, his first year, 2021, with the Red Sox, Kike hit 250 with a 337 on base, 449 slugging for a 786 OPS. That was a 108 OPS plus. He also he hit 35 doubles, 20 home runs, 60 RBIs. He contributed a stolen base on top of that. But the real thing, a 108 OPS plus, above average offensively, and then defensively in 2021. In center field, he had 14 defensive runs saved, a 7.4 UZR, 9 outs above average, and 8 runs above average. So not only was he, great, good at the plate, great for him. He was great in the field, great in center field, amazing. Probably one of the best defensive center fielders in the MLB in 2021, if not the best. In 2022, it's been a little bit of a downslip. Obviously, missed some time with the hip injury. The leadoff spot didn't really work well for him. 219 average this year, 283 on base, 354 slugging for a 637 OPS, just a 77 OPS plus. And defensively, 2 defensive runs saved, 2.5 UZR, 3 outs above average, 2 runs above average, 2 runs above average. Now, those numbers are also a little bit lower. Like I said, he's missed a lot of games. So you don't get to those stats don't really take into account the missed games, defensive stats. But you would have hoped for more from him, especially considering he was the leadoff hitter entering the year. However, it looks like they're fine with that 1-year deal, lock him in, and he can be kind of a 7 hitter, maybe 8 or 9 hitter, depending on how the lineup turns out for 2023. And he can be a solid piece for a Red Sox team that could potentially surprise some people. And a lot of people already have their hopes down for 2023, but I think they could be a team that surprises some people. Now, what this means for Kike, he gets locked in 1 year, 10 million. Some people thought maybe a 2 or 3 year deal would have been an option for him on the free agency market, but maybe not. The price with him having this big down year with the injury involved, maybe kind of hurt him a little bit in his free agent market. At least that's what it kind of was looking like potentially. So at least from Kike's side, maybe that's what they thought. So you get the 10 million locked in for this year, and then for 2023 for next year, and then you can maybe look to explore free agency after 2023. Hopefully, build back up the value, and Kike will be 31. It'll be 31 heading into next year. It's his age 31 season next year, so a team could maybe sign into a 2 or 3 year deal after next year for his age 32, 33, and maybe even 34 seasons. If he has an amazing year, maybe a team wants to give him a 4-year deal. Who knows? That's all to be seen. But for Kike, it just gives him a chance to reestablish his value. He stays at a place where he's comfortable. He seems like he likes playing in Boston. Him and Alex Ford, they gel very well. Having a manager you like to play for, I think, is important for a lot of players. Or at least I would think it is. So I think that kind of helped Kike and just go, you know what, I'll take that 1-year extension for $10 million. And for the Red Sox, it's a 1-year deal. It's like I say, this all 1 year deals. There's like no risk to it. If the guy's injured all year and doesn't play, it's a 1 year deal. Who cares? Um, and the Red Sox, money's not a problem for them. That's the thing. Their money isn't a problem for them, so it shouldn't be like 10 million. Even if it was 20 million, yeah, that would be a lot. But from the Red Sox point of view, it's a 1 year deal. There's no long term risk attached to it. Now, the Red Sox, when you put in the what the expected arbitration, the projected arbitration salaries, everyone's going to be an arbitration, and the projected pre-arb guys. The Red Sox now are probably around 70 to 75 million under the luxury tax for next season. Now that doesn't mean they have to stay under. Obviously, they could spend depending on the budget next year, but we think that the minimum will be 70 million. I would say to spend in free agency, not including Bogarts. That's not including Bogarts opting in because he's going to opt out. So about 70 million to try and re-sign Bogarts, maybe bring in a couple of pitchers or re-sign a couple guys. Maybe like a re-sign Michael Walker, maybe add another starting pitcher if you feel, or maybe add a bullpen piece or whatever. Maybe add a D. Who knows? You get 70 million to do it at the minimum, and there could be more. Maybe they want to bring Bogarts back or bring in another shortstop that's not Bogarts. Who knows? But they should have the money to be able to make some moves and have some flexibility. And for them, I don't think the luxury tax is that big of an issue, honestly, right now. So who knows? Maybe they'll be under it, maybe they're not. But at the minimum, 70 million. That's a lot of money to spend. It can go away very quickly. But I trust Heimblum knows how he wants to spend. Already has an idea of what he's looking for in free agency and what the roster building for 2023 is going to be. So it makes sense. What does this contract extension mean for the Red Sox in general, heading in the future, long term, not just 2023? To me, this seems like a bridge to Ceddanne Rafaela in 2024. I'm super high on Rafaela. He's my favorite prospect in the system. That doesn't mean I think he's the best prospect in the system. He's just my favorite prospect in the system. But for I feel like Rafaela should be ready to go by 2024 if he continues developing as he is right now. Obviously, the bat still has some ways to go. Definitely still has some ways to go. At least the approach does at the plate. But in the field, I think he could play in the big leagues right now. If you just took a look at his defense, I think he could have played in the big leagues last year based on his defense. It's just the bat that you got to get coming along, and I think his defense will hold him up early in his MLB career, and then you're hoping the bat will continue to develop. I think 2024 is a good. He may even, depending on how he plays in 2023, maybe you see him as a late call up at the end of 2023, but I'm thinking 2024 is probably a good spot for Rafaela to make his MLB debut. Maybe it's opening day roster, maybe it's not. That's to be seen. Obviously, that's still over a year down the road. It's like a year and a half down the road almost. But that's just kind of what I'm thinking long term. I'm feeling like it's a bridge to Rafaela playing center field in 2024, or Rafaela being the kind of super utility guy that Kike could be next year, because Rafaela can play all over the place just like Kike can. And Rafaela is great defensively everywhere, and Kike's pretty good defensively everywhere, if not great. So I think that's kind of there. I feel like once Rafaela reaches the big leagues, there's no necessarily not that there isn't a point to having Kike, but I feel like Rafaela will fill the role that Kike's in pretty well. So that's kind of how I see it. So long term, I think Rafaela will eventually take over for Kike, and Kike will leave after 2023. That's kind of where I see it. And like I said, for Kike, he can readjust his free agent market if he has a good year, and then hope to hit free agency and get a good deal somewhere. Where that will be, obviously, that's to be decided. Still a long time for that to happen. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Last but not least, also to will Kike play center field for next year? This doesn't mean Jarren Duran is done with the Red Sox. I know some people brought that up on Twitter and on social media. Doesn't really mean anything. This doesn't have anything to do with Jarren Duran. So I'll just put that out there. But Kike, Bogarts leaves. Maybe they want to play Kike in the infield and have Story and Kike be the middle infield duo for 2023. There's that option. Kike could play center. Maybe they get a couple of extra bats and they just want Kike to be a super utility guy. The Red Sox have given themselves a bunch of options with Kike, and it's going to be interesting to see which way they go. They have a bunch of options for the offseason. They have a bunch of different ways they can go. They have paths that kind of cross each other. They could let Bogarts walk or stay with Bogarts, and regardless, it doesn't matter. They still want to play Kike in center, or maybe Bogarts leaving could have an effect on Kike, or maybe Bogarts staying has an effect on him, or maybe they bring in a center fielder that has an effect on Kike, and what his role is. Maybe some of that stuff will have an effect on Christian Arroyo. Kike staying definitely means Arroyo's probably not going to play every day next year. Actually, this means unless Arroyo's going to DH, there's like no chance he's playing every day next year. But with his injury history, maybe it's probably best. But obviously, all that stuff's to be seen. That's all just guessing. My prediction for next year with Kike is that he's going to bounce back, have just a solid offense. So you're not going to be great. He can put in his hot stretches, and then at the end of, and then and depending on the team, what they look like in 2023, if Kike is playing well, in the middle of 2023, maybe they look at him as deadline move and shipping him off of the deadline for prospects, or maybe they keep him throughout the year depending on how they're playing, and they just let him go to free agency, and Rafaela comes in 2024, if he can continue to progress as he is right now. That's kind of where I see it. That's where I see the whole Kike situation kind of filling in with the Red Sox. I think it's definitely a short-term move. It's not long-term. I don't see Kike being around long-term. I think 2023 is going to be his last year with the Red Sox, and if he does stay past 2023, it's going to be in a limited role. Because like I said, they do have a guy like Rafaela coming, and they do have a bunch of other prospects coming, and they have a boatload of middle infield prospects, so they won't be needing Kike to play middle infield. So he would just be an outfielder at that point, maybe a utility bench guy, but that's not like a massive role for him. I don't even know if he'd be starting outfielder at that point. With that Red Sox, obviously, would they want to incorporate their young guys in? So I don't know where that would leave Kike in it. But that's, if we want to go into the whole, what's the outlook past 2023 and even further on beyond 2024, 2025, whatever, that's a whole nother video. I'm not going to get into it now. We're actually going to wrap it up now. But thanks for tuning in to Bleach Brawls. While you're here, check out all the Bleach Brawls links in the description, the podcast, website, Instagram, and Twitter. Check all those out, plus all the crew's Twitter. I did write a column on the website about 5 things I want to see in free agency. Went out on a limb on a couple things. Some of those things I just want to see happen. One of those two of those I definitely want to see happen. A couple of those I just want to see because of the chaos of it happening. And then there's one of those that I kind of have a sneaky suspicion that for whatever reason it will happen, and that team will do that. So check that out. I'll leave that link in the description as well for any of you who have stayed on, listen this whole time. So that link will be in the description. Thanks for tuning in to Bleacher Brawls. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified when I repost. That's gonna wrap it up. My name is Derek. Thanks for tuning in to Bleacher Brawls, and I'll see you next time.